my old TCS mom friends to join. So
oh, great. That's awesome.
yeah, we'll hopefully see some familiar faces. So
Yes.
I'll give everyone a second today. I think this is going to be a really good conversation because I think this is something that's on the minds of parents and we're all kind of wanting more support with, and I think you can lend a lot of light to it. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll get started. So hi everyone, welcome to the latest installment of Shibani Live on Instagram. I've been coming live on Instagram, bringing you topics that I've been wanting to hear about from great thought leaders and experts, and bringing you ideas on a wide variety of topics as we're all in this sort of COVID sheltering in this weird place in life, but really wanting to move life forward. And I know I've gotten a lot. I hope all of you are getting a lot too. Today, we're going to talk about online education. So many of us are struggling to multitask, doing things like working, cooking, being a teacher in our home now, a role that we never thought we would be playing, much less doing for so long, and we're feeling stressed. I certainly know that I am going into week 5 of sheltering in place. I'm kind of in a different place than I was in the first week. And so I wanted to bring in someone who knows a lot about teaching, a lot about online education, just education in general. We're joined today by Rebecca Lindsay. She's a 3rd grade teacher at the children's school in La Jolla. She was my daughter's 3rd grade teacher, so I know her very well. I know that she knows what she's talking about. She's also the elementary division director at the children's school, so she oversees and connects with children of a wide variety of ages, and I think that's really important because our kids have different needs depending on how old they are. So I thought she would be great to bring in today. So Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. This is such an important time and such an important conversation to have. So
totally.
I'm proud to be part of it. So thank you.
Let me turn off my alerts because I'm getting text alerts from people. Here we go. All right. Yeah, so why don't we start off maybe talking about sort of how it's going. You're continuing to teach, you're overseeing an elementary division. Like, how has the transition been for you from an educator's perspective?
I'm actually really happy to say that I think it's been a fairly smooth transition for us. I think I'm super proud of my school. We had a little bit of lead time. We started to have conversations before, it actually came to pass that we were going to be home teaching, and we were, of course, we're like, no, that's not going to happen. This is just a conversation. But we at least were able to have that conversation and start thinking about things. We told our kids on a Friday morning, so we were able to prepare them. We had a conversation in person about it. We were lucky enough to be able to send them with work home, their workbooks, things that are familiar to them, their supplies, laptops for most of the kids from second grade and up, I think was very helpful, and they're well versed in technology as well. So I think that's been huge.
Yeah.
But I think too, we're so well connected with our kids at our school. We place such an important emphasis on that connection and that social emotional piece that I think that allowed us to transition well. I mean, I think it'd be a little harder to start the school year this way, and who knows what this is going to look like in September and how long it's going to be. Certainly none of us expected when we, set out to be teachers that we would be teaching from our guest bedrooms and our dining room tables and our kitchens or wherever we're teaching from. But our school, we have absolutely risen to the challenge, and our teachers are awesome, and everyone is doing the best that they absolutely can.
Yeah.
We know that it's so hard for parents. In addition to my role at the children's school, I help run Connected Parenting. So I hear from parents all the time about how hard this is. I know how hard parenting is just in general, never mind. Now you add this into the mix. Your routines are disrupted. The lives that you knew to be normal are no longer that way. Your kids are home. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I was out yesterday for 5 minutes just to pick up something at PetSmart and at the drive up. I was like, okay, I'm out. Now I can go. Nope. There's nothing to do. Let's just go back home.
Yeah.
So we know that, this is an added responsibility and more stress for parents, that, there's more responsibilities for you at home. Suddenly you're helping your kids get online, or, they got timed out of Zoom, or they got shut out, or they can't do their work, or whatever the case may be. We totally understand that. And I know a lot of parents are feeling like, we didn't sign up to be teachers. I don't know how to be a teacher overnight. We weren't teachers overnight. We know how hard teaching is. We know how hard, you know, it can be. So I think we need to, I want parents to know that we get that. And we're not expecting you to suddenly be teachers overnight and wrap up all the curriculum that we can't deliver. We know that it looks different. It feels different to us. I think every day we're reflecting, what can we do better? What's working? What's not working? Did I set my goals too high today? Do I need to set them a little bit lower so I can do better tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, I think that we do that at our school anyway. We ask that of our kids, what's working, what's not. Those are conversations we have with our kids also. You know, what do you like about Zoom? You know, the kids will tell you, oh, you know, I don't have to get up as early, or I can go to school in my pajamas, although a lot of ours do anyway sometimes. But, you know, we have those conversations. So I think that that open line of communication is certainly important. I think the honeymoon phase of Zoom is starting to
wear off.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and I mean, teachers are stressed. A lot of the teachers have kids at home that they're trying to manage, or, you know, dogs barking, or, you know, their spouses are in the other room. They're competing for office space. They're, you know, I hear from some of my students that their parents have made really great offices in their closets. You know,
yeah.
It's not supposed to be this way.
Yeah, and we're all adapting, and I think that, you know, it's really important, you know, what you say from a teacher's perspective, because a lot of parents are really stressed out. So let's sort of talk about like ways that we can make this easier on us as parents, and how, you know, from your perspective. I mean, I know you're speaking from the children's school, and every school is very different. I also know that my kids go to public school now. They don't go to private school anymore. And there are big differences with the way that even the online learning experience is happening between private and public, where, correct me if I'm wrong, private is going more of the online, where they're running classes all day. And so the kids that are of a certain age are sitting in front of a computer having their normal classes. But in public school, and most places that I'm hearing, at least anecdotally, they're sending us, you know, with a list of things to do, and it's the parents' responsibility. And then of course there's meetings and, you know, morning meetings and check-ins and things like this, but it's a lot more unstructured. And so that puts a lot of the burden on parents. So how, you know, depending, regardless of whether you're going to private or public, like how can we better manage this and feel less stressed? Because I know I'm feeling less stressed. I'm feeling more stressed than I was. And the structure and the wheels are kind of coming off the bus now, where I'm like, if you do a little bit of math and you read a little bit, we're good for the day. But, yeah, you know, I worry about that.
Of course. Well, and I think it's obviously going to look different in every home. But I think one thing that's super important, and I think kids really want this, and I think that's part of why school works so well, is structure, right? They know what to expect. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know that at this time they do this, and at this time they do that.
Yeah.
And in this situation that might look different every day, they might need 5 breaks in their 20-minute math period, and that's okay. But I think if you can make schedules for them, if you can have them help you make the schedule, write it on a piece of paper, and they can check things off as they do them, so they feel like they have some say and some control over the situation. I think it's important not to shoot too high. I mean, I think that's one of the first things I did. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I do this. And then suddenly we're all just chatting on Zoom and nobody got anything done.
Yeah.
But I think that was also important. It's important to recognize those moments. But I think the more structure you can create at home, frequent check-ins, have your kids come and show you what they're working on. It's not supposed to be this way. And I think it's extra challenging in the public school situation where, you know, they don't have that contact time with the teachers. And as normal as we're trying to make it on Zoom, even in the private school, I mean, our classes are shorter. We're taking way more breaks. We're reading our kids. We're watching everybody. Okay, I can see everybody needs a minute. Just to kind of recognize all of those aspects. And I think, you know, as parents, I think it's really an important time to be neutral and to be really patient.
Yeah.
And super understanding, and know, I know it's so hard. And you got to start with yourself first, right? Yeah. I mean, you know,
I'm like doing a conference call and there's kids knocking on my door. You know, I'm trying my best.
I know. You know what? That's almost one of my favorite things about all of this is watching my kids, and, you know, their dogs are running around in the background, or, you know, just a funny story. well, it's funny to me, but I was trying to record a story for my kids over spring break because we want to keep that connection going. So I was reading the story and I had this wonky chair and I was sitting in it and I just changed my angle a little bit because I don't even know where I'm going with the story, but I'm going to finish it anyway, so I'll laugh. And I basically fell off my chair on the recording. So all you see is my book go flying, but this is me, you know, doing my best, putting myself out there for my kids. And I think we as teachers are doing that as much as we can.
Yeah.
And again, that's my favorite part of this is that we're all human. We're all just figuring this out. We are pioneers right now.
Yeah. It's
right?
so true. Yeah, it's true. And every day is different. And so, you know, kind of bringing in that. And by the way, I want to tell everyone that's watching, you can ask questions. Feel free to chime in and we'll have Rebecca answer them. We already got one question, so I'll bring that up in a second. But let's go back to schedules, because I heard that in the beginning, schedules are really important and we've been doing it. But every day also ends up being a little bit different because of what I have to do with my work, what, you know, how the kids are feeling. Maybe they have a morning meeting that pops up, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one child has an 8:30 meeting, Tuesday, Thursday, another child has a 10 a.m. meeting. We're having a hard time finding that consistency because every day is so different. And then Friday, the kids were just like, can we play and do stuff? And I was like, yeah, let's just take the day off. But in the back of my head, I thought, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to have a schedule and a routine. So how do we sort of balance the structure and the rigidity with having a little bit of fun? Because I also think that's what this time is about right now.
Yes, too. I agree. I think fun needs to be part of your schedule. And I don't think a schedule needs to be exactly the same every day. Do it on a whiteboard. You know, maybe instead of having the kids check off their little check boxes, they can erase, you know, oh, had my morning message. Okay, did my little, you know, jumping jacks outside or whatever it may be. But I think in the end, we're teaching our kids flexibility, right? We're teaching our kids that it doesn't have to be the same all the time. Learning doesn't have to look the same every minute. And I think that's a huge positive that's going to come out of this, right? I know we're stressed and it's a crazy time. We're so uncertain and we don't know what's going on, but we're teaching our kids some really important lessons right now. Right? We're teaching them that they're cared for and that they can get through this. We all can.
I got some advice yesterday too, that from someone that knows a lot about homeschooling. And he said, you know, the number one goal of homeschooling is to be connected with your child. Like that's the whole point. So when I heard that, that really sort of transformed how I was approaching my efforts, because I was thinking, oh, we need to do these worksheets and we need to cross all these things off of my list. But it opened me up to the possibility that connection actually is probably the most important thing to accomplish in a day.
Yes, and for a myriad of reasons, but absolutely. I think right now it's super important for kids to see their parents as sort of the calm in the storm. And just to really know that, you know, my parents have this, and if you want to go and lose it in another room behind closed doors, I think that's fine. You also being real at the same time, letting your kids know that this is a stressful situation, obviously. I think it's important for everybody to know this isn't forever, right? I mean, it feels like forever, and it feels like a really long time that we've been able to go to movies and walk on the beach, but this isn't forever. And although we don't know when it's going to end, it will end, and it'll look different when it's ending. And when we go back to life, I don't think it'll look exactly the same. But this is not forever. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, that, you know, you're not going to break your children in 2 months. Everyone is having this challenge. Everyone, every parent, teachers who have kids at home are like, how am I doing? How do I even do this? How do I do this at school? Never mind. You know, I mean, and these are teachers who've been teaching for a long time. So I think just keep telling yourselves that this is a temporary situation. We're all doing the best we can. It's not forever. We are in this situation, although it looks different for everyone. You know, everyone is going to be behind, so to speak. And teachers know that. Teachers are going to recognize that next year when we have kids coming in.
Yeah, that brings me to, you know, a great sort of next logical question, which is, you know, as a division director for the elementary school, how are you going about changing, adapting your benchmarks, adapting to, you know, the lack of being able to test? I mean, I think that that's probably what I am benchmarking myself up against is that, you know, I want them to be successful and I want them to thrive and meet sort of certain goals or, thresholds, but I don't know if they're changing or if they're coming down or if they're adapting on the teacher and educator side. So give us a little bit of insight on kind of what your team is thinking.
Right. So, I mean, right now we've had some early conversations. We're not in my division, we're not heavy testers anyway. We do more, you know, our assessments are more check-ins for us and information for us about how your children are doing. But in terms of the ERB testing and those kinds of things, those things aren't happening. I don't see how they could, even you're testing in your home, like how do we, you know, that's kind of a weird situation. And I think going forward, we will just have to adjust. And I know that we will. I know our school will. And certainly just on an individual level, we do this anyway at our school because we are small, we're intentionally small. So we really get to know our kids. So coming back to that relationship and that connection, that's what's going to help us figure out where to go. Right? I don't know that we need to make a blanket statement that they're not going to learn multiplication in third grade anymore. That's a terrible example because we're doing it right now and they're doing great. But, you know, whatever the case may be. And I feel like, you know, we are emergent that way. And I think we're flexible. And I think that's an amazing way to be. I can't really speak for public schools that it's a bigger challenge for them because there's, you know, mass amounts of children and it's much harder, but I can't see people not readjusting.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, and I think that that's what parents are probably a little stressed about is that, you know, we want our kids to be at whatever level they need to be for the next school year. As you think about kind of the return to the school year, whenever that might be in the fall, hopefully, if not sooner, or at the end of the calendar year, if not sooner, what good is coming out from this? I know, you know, the children's school is more on the low tech side. A lot of schools, you know, adapt a little bit more in the way of technology. But I think that there's probably things that we all realize are being well served with technology right now. What are you seeing on your end that you think might be a part of the classroom experience going forward as a trend?
Yeah, 100%. First of all, just a really quick thought I had is our kids, my kids especially, are blowing my mind in terms of how they're handling the technology piece of this. We're on Zoom and they're like, oh, Rebecca, if you do this, then this happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great. So I think there's so much learning just in that anyway. But I think, you know, I could see myself Zooming a kid across the room and we're sharing a document and working on something together. Maybe a child is homesick for a few days and suddenly we can, you know, Zoom record our class lesson and they can be part of it. I think there's some neat things that can come out of this. And I think learning doesn't just have to look like math and reading, you know, it looks like life lessons. And I think there's a really big lesson in life here. And that is that your children are loved and cared about and teachers are going above and beyond and wanting to. We're thankful to be able to do this as, you know, a stressful situation as it is. But I think, you know, I think that we're going to come out with a different appreciation, hopefully knowing how important connections are as well. I mean, I think
we miss people. And I think that that's something that we probably we took for granted for a long time. Yeah. So what can you say about what your life is like from an educator's perspective? I mean, some people think that teachers are on vacation right now or like things are like so easy and, you know, they're chilled out. Like do you agree? I mean, what's your day and routine like right now?
I will tell you that there's two things that are easier. One, I don't have to sit on the hill in La Jolla for 20 minutes to get to my school sitting in traffic. So there's that. Yeah. And I can go to the bathroom whenever I want. I'll be right back. Right. And so there's that. But really, you know, I'm seasick by the end of the day. It's a lot, you know, my kids are young and they're moving around. So there's a lot of this. There's a learning curve in terms of using the technology. I think the hardest piece has just been, you know, the audio is not connecting and then they have to go back and come back in, go out and come back in.
Yeah, that can be disruptive
a little bit, but you know, we're rolling with it. And I think that, you know, that's the good thing. I'm teaching them that, you know, this doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. You know, there's all kinds of opportunities, but I think in terms of what do our lives look like, it looks like education all the time. There is no definition. Well, we're getting better at it now because we know we have to. But when this first started, I mean, we were up at 10 o'clock at night. We were practice Zooming each other. We had 2 days. We took the first 2 days as professional development days to really figure everything out. And so we were Zooming each other all the time. We were, coming up with lesson plans. I mean, I've been teaching third grade for 18 years.
Yeah.
One could say I'm sort of on autopilot, or at least should be, and I'm not now. This is not autopilot. I think I breathe, I dream my kids. What can I do better? I think back on my lessons. Oh, I forgot to look up to see if so and so was paying attention. I'm private chatting everybody. Are you okay? Like, I want to make sure that I'm not, giving a message to somebody that, offends them in front of, it's just, there's a lot to think about. But yeah, we're in this 100%, and it's all the time. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but you're right. It is, and it is a paradigm shift with education as well, is that you can always be learning too, which is kind of,
yes,
it was just kind of awesome, is that you
yeah,
don't need to be confined to a 6 hour day or an 8 hour
yes.
day anymore.
Yeah. We
That's
are lifelong learners. That's one of the things that it's our school, philosophy. We want to
yeah.
instill that in our kids and ourselves too. We're all learning, you know.
What about social etiquette? I know that that's something that I've seen some struggles with in my household. We are used to interacting with one another and communicating just directly, but when you transition to digital and you've got emails and text message and all these things, and then children with different levels of access to it. I don't let my kids have devices for certain hours of the day, and then they're getting text messages or emails, and then it starts to hurt feelings and things like that. What advice can you give to parents for managing that social etiquette that I know can complicate friendships for children right now?
I know that's hard, and I think that that's the trouble with text messaging and email. People say things to each other electronically that they would never say in person, and I think that's true for parents emailing teachers or teachers emailing parents. You lose that emotion.
Yeah.
I think the important thing is stay connected to your kids and really talk to them. I would place limits, on that kind of time that kids are spending. I know that's their social life and it's super important, but you don't want them to, fall into that situation. And kids don't, a lot of the time, they don't think kids mean to be offensive or say hurtful things. I'm
They're
thinking,
direct, they're very direct,
yeah,
but that directness
yeah,
can come across very meanly,
yeah,
in email.
yeah. And I think just talking to your kids about it too, and hopefully you have that relationship with your child where your child will tell you, this happened today, or this person said this to me today, and you can kind of talk that through and, help them see maybe the possible angles of that other person could have been coming from.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of it, my mind automatically went to Zoom and conversations in class and thinking, I heard a story the other day where, a teacher kind of corrected or made a comment to the class, not meaning to be offensive at all. Certainly, I probably could look back and think of times where I might have, asked somebody to check their bodies, to sit up straight or whatever it was, only because they were lying under their covers. But you don't know how that's going to be taken, but
Yeah.
there's an opportunity to come back and say, hey, you know what, yesterday when I told you to sit up in front of everybody, I didn't realize that would have embarrassed you, and I really didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
So I think it's opportunities. I know that kind of went off your question, but I think that there are opportunities, and certainly for friends too, that, your daughter or whoever could come back and say, did you mean to sound like that?
Yeah. And there's a lot of self-reflection that can happen now where kids are putting themselves out there and then
Yeah.
learn interactions in positive
Yeah.
and negative ways. Are you worried about too much screen time? Is that something that educators worry about? And I know, from your connected parenting, background as well, there are impacts to the brain that happen in children when we use devices and have too much screen time. So what can you tell me about that?
Well, I can say that I think that this kind of screen time or a Zoom class where you're learning math together and you're having a morning meeting, I think that's valuable screen time. I don't think that's the same kind of screen time as, kids playing video games or even group chats where kids' feelings can get hurt, right? I think that you're still connecting, and I think that that's a huge piece. So I think that's valuable. I mean, I am mindful of it anyway. I want to give my kids lots of breaks. As I said, I mean, I get seasick after too long, so I need to walk away and get some fresh air. So I think, I don't want my third graders to be on screen from 9 to 3. They're not. we take breaks between every subject. They still have their regular recess schedule. They still have their regular lunchtime. We're just now working specialty classes in much shorter classes are probably 20 to 30 minutes instead of their 45. But again, I think it's different. I think this kind of a screen time is valuable on a different level.
Yeah.
But I think again, it's, your kids better. And if suddenly your child is acting out even more, I mean, I have parents who actually are like tracking the amount of time that their kids are spending, even before this happened, and just kind of seeing if they can kind of equate what's happening with behavior and what's happening with screen time. But again, I don't know that this necessarily counts as much. I mean, there's definitely a limit, but I think if you're interacting and there's lots of breaks, I think that's okay.
I think that's important for parents to know, because I up until now, we were very low tech. We had limited, we definitely had screen time limits, and now it just feels like literally overnight, everything just blew through. We can just, have access to the computer all the time, iPads, because we need it for learning. And then I think about, well, what happened to those limits, and what am I doing to their brain, and what am I, are some of these behaviors which we'll talk about in a second, connected to them staring at a screen. But I'm almost relieved to hear that the interactions where there's connectedness in some way is different than sort of isolated.
Right. And again, this isn't forever, right? This isn't like, this is how it's going to be from now on. Sorry, everyone. Right. This is just right now.
And how do we manage that? I mean, I that's also something that I think about is, will I be able to say that? And, am I creating a new norm and a new normal by like devices being out all the time? Or should I be like sort of front loading them now and saying, hey, when we go back to school, we're not going to have all of these? Because I worry about that day when I'm like, nope, give all the iPads back to me, guys. And the meeting that's going to happen when I ask for them back.
Right. Well, I don't know that I would be doing that right now, because especially if they're enjoying it right now, you don't want them to be feeling like, oh my gosh, this is great right now, but I'm going to lose it soon. We don't want to create that.
Yeah.
I think if you're giving them context and you are having conversations about why this is working and what's working well about it, I think that's the thing to focus on right now. And then when the time comes that it's time to pull back a little bit, then you have conversations like that. And I think kids need information. They want information, right? I mean, even for them, no screen time. Well, why? Why no screen time? And why is this screen time different from that screen time? Let them know why.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think we as parents do as good of a job as we could in communicating and kind of talking to them like adults, at least high level stuff. Let's talk about some of those social behaviors. That's another thing that I put a poll up on my Facebook page, and I asked people, are you worried about long-term impacts of COVID sheltering on your children? And the majority of people, over 60%, just a handful of people said no, but the majority of people, more than 60%, said yes. They are worried about long-term impacts. What can you tell us about that? I know this is not comparable to 9/11 or any of the other things that have happened in our lives, but what could we anticipate in terms of things that could impact kids mentally, socially, emotionally in the months to come?
Right. Well, I'm thinking of a couple of things. The first thing I'm thinking about, and I feel this way when I go out in public, we're all being taught right now to stay away from everybody, right? Mm-hmm. People are bad in a way. They're dirty, they're germy, like don't go near them, don't touch stuff. So I think that's going to be weird. Suddenly we're going to be back at school and hi, it's really good to be back. I think
no handshaking,
but don't touch me.
Hugging. We might have masks on. In San Francisco, we have to wear masks now when we go outside. Yeah,
I know. Well, that'll be fun if we have to do that in school. But if we have to do it, we'll do it. I mean, the ultimate goal is we want to be back and get back to normal as much as possible. In terms of long-lasting effects, I don't know. I think that some anxiety is a good thing. I think anxiety gets a bad rep, right? If you have too much of it, that's not a great thing. If you don't have enough of it, that's not a great thing. But I don't know that we need to be afraid of this. I think if we stay connected with our kids, we really build those connections at home. Right now, we have the perfect time to do that. Families are bike riding together. They're spending more and more time together. Let's not lose that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your family unit is what is going to carry you through. right? Your relationship with your parents. And the more you can focus on that, the more you can handle anything. And I come back to connected parenting only because that's really the foundation is, you know, just building that relationship. It sets you up for anything,
Yeah, that's true.
whatever life throws at you. And life is throwing us this. So we got this.
Yeah.
We can handle this,
So
you
let's
know?
talk about what anxiety could look like in children because, you know, our children don't come up to us and say, Mom, I'm stressed about things. And often we
Right.
as adults don't even say that
No.
until after the fact. So,
Yeah.
what can anxiety in children look like now while they're sheltering or even in the future? I mean, obviously, there are really easy telltale signs with OCD and things like that. But
Right.
even before that, how do we know that our children are stressed?
Yeah, I think that it obviously looks different in every kid. You've nailed that. I think it can look like everything from, you know, having a short temper, you know, not as much tolerance, easily frustrated. You know, things aren't working from the simplest little things. I'm gonna, you know, have a meltdown,
Mhm.
to just being restless and wiggly and cranky and not wanting to sleep or waking up in the middle of the night. For some kids, it could look like you know, a lot of no's. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do this. It could look like bossy. You know,
Familiar.
that's mine. This is the way supposed to be the way we're doing it. That's not what Rebecca said. How we're supposed to do math. We're supposed to do it this way.
Yeah.
And
Trying
I
to get
think
control a little bit. Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, and I think those are all really understanding behaviors right now.
Yeah.
I think we should be seeing those. I feel that way. You know, I was trying to cut my husband's hair earlier, and you know, he wants to look good. He's allowed to want that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Why
Yeah.
do you want me to make it shorter? Like, that's fine. The sides are, no
Good.
one's gonna notice.
Yeah.
Like, take a moment. This is your hair. I get it. You know, but I'm, you know, my tolerance level is not what it once was.
Yeah.
But
For
I
all of
think
us. Yeah.
yeah, I think we need to just create time to take care of each other, whatever that looks like. Bond with your kids, wrestle with them, do fun things, do weird things. Jennifer talks in Connected Parenting about having lunch under the dining room table. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, kids aren't going to remember what they learned about in math on Tuesday last week, right? They're going to remember how it felt at home and how much their teacher cared about them and how their teacher, you know, connected through chat or, you know, made eye contact with them or played those silly games on Zoom,
Yeah.
right? It's okay for kids to be anxious. They and weirded out right now. That's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
Help them understand that, right? Have conversations with them about it. You know, it's okay. This isn't going to break them. It's going to
Yeah.
make them stronger.
That's great. I think that that's something that we all worry about as parents is like, oh, what can I do? But I think to almost squash it, but it's a different approach if you embrace it and then you
Yeah.
work with it because it's natural, it's normal, it's a human experience
Right.
and something we're all dealing with, whether you're an adult or a child. So like it's a
Yes.
mission almost in a way.
Yes. Absolutely. Well said.
As we end up here, Rebecca, this has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot, I know. In what ways have you learned, you've grown, you've sort of embraced what's this sheltering in place that you feel like you want to carry forward into your life that us all as parents can carry forward into our lives as well?
We're human, right? We're people. I feel like this time has unveiled us in some way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even from looking on Facebook and seeing celebrities with their glasses on instead of their contacts and their messy hair and no makeup to, you know, me talking to you. This is not my thing, you know. I talk to kids, but people just being human and putting themselves out there and being vulnerable. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
I really
I
do.
agree. I think that vulnerability and that human connection is really something that we realize that, you know, now that we're without it, we realize how valuable it is
Yes.
and how much stuff that's covering up our vulnerability is like really not necessary. We're
Ah,
protecting ourselves and we're shielding ourselves and not showing who we are. And how can we re-enter the world and put our armor down a little bit?
yes.
That would be really nice.
Yes. But
Well, Rebecca Lindsay, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you have a
thank you.
great Saturday, Rebecca, and
You're so welcome.
hi to La Jolla for me. And
I will. Say hi to your children.
yeah, they're watching. They're watching right now. So I look forward to seeing you in person soon. And thank you again.
You as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.